Hello and welcome to the fourth part of this Master Classic Monochrome video tutorial. Now, after a few minutes, or about a quarter of an hour, you should have been able to mask out each of those regions. And you'll see here in my layers palette, I've masked out the sky, the mountains, water, bushes and rocks. And you can just about see all of those different masks on the right hand side of each of the layers. If I click Alt and just click onto the sky layer, you can see my sky mask. Here's my mountains, my water, bushes, and finally the rocks layer. So you can see the masks that I've created for each of those layers. Once I've done all of that, I'll just click quickly onto the top layer, which is the sky layer, hold down Shift and click on my background copy layer. Then go over to my layer options and just select merge layers, or shortcut for that is just Apple or Control E. And what that'll do is just merge down all of the layers that you've had selected in your layers palette. So we can now see our flattened monochrome image, and already you can see it looks a lot more dramatic than just taking out the saturation or the colour information from the picture. Now that we've done that, we have a little bit of a creative adjustment to do, and it's probably one of the trickier parts to skill within Photoshop, and that's a bit of dodge and burning. So we're going to start off by burning in some of the shadow areas. So just hold down spacebar just to zoom up to the sky, and we're just going to zoom in once so we've got a good look at the sky region. What we want to do is just even out the exposure of the sky a little bit. You can see it's a little bit darker over on the left hand side and lighter on the right, and what we're going to do is just use the burn tool just to burn in a few of those darker shadow cloud areas and even out that exposure. So if we go down to our burn tool, and you'll find that down in the bottom left of your tool palette, we're going to take a moderately large brush, so we'll take that up to about 600. Make sure our range is in shadows, and we've got our exposure to about 5%. Right, before I start, I'm just going to duplicate the new monochrome layer. That way, if anything goes wrong, I can take one step backwards and just start over. So I'll just duplicate that layer, and now I can start with my burning technique. So first thing is to sort out this exposure of the sky, and what I'm going to do is just using very quick sweeps just start to burn in some of those shadow areas. Depending on the speed of your machine, you might want to just hold off a little bit, just do a quick sweep, wait for a couple of seconds for the screen to update, and then just check on your progress. So I've just burnt in and evened out the sky a little bit there. If I check that against the original, you can actually see the difference that very slight burning effect has had on the sky. Now what I want to do is continue that just on a few of the other areas. If there's anywhere else I feel needs a little bit of darkening, this little bit of grass in the foreground, I'm just going to give that a slight burn, and again just in some of the water here, just to pick out and increase the contrast of some of the stones underneath the water. Once I'm happy with my burning, I'm going to switch over and now start to do a bit of dodging, so the opposite. So again, go down to your tool palette on the left hand side, and we'll just select our dodge tool. Again, I've got my exposure at 5%, just increase that to 7, but this time I'm going to pick out our midtones. So I'll increase the brush size right up to about 1000. And now what I want to do is just very quickly just go over the bush areas, and that'll just increase the lighten the mid-tone contrast and just increase the contrast of that area. It just picks out the details of the branches and the leaves a little bit better. So with that done, I'm now going to go and change my range to highlights, decrease the brush size, and then I'm just going to pick out some of the details on the rocks and just give them a little bit more contrast so they really start to stand out. The thing with dodging and burning is just to keep working at it. If you go wrong, just click undo, and keep going back in and changing. Don't push the dodge and burn too far, otherwise it really will pull back the quality of the final picture. So now if I zoom out, I've done only a minimal amount of dodge and burn, but if I just switch off that dodge and burn layer, and you can really see the effect just a very quick bit of dodge and burn has had on the picture. So I've really, using the dodge and burn, lifted out the rocks a little bit more, increased the contrast in the bushes, and evened out the exposure of the sky. So once I'm happy with that, I'm going to go to layers and just flatten down my image. And for the final part of the process, I'm just going to apply a very little bit of sharpening. So up to enhance, adjust sharpness, make sure the preview window's in at 100%. Just go to one of the rocks and have a look. Here I've got a amount of 65, which is pushing things just a little bit too far, and a radius, I think, of about 1. If I click back around the image just to check, I think we can get away with increasing the radius just slightly. Once we're happy with the effect of the sharpening, just click OK to apply. And there we have our classic monochrome print, and you should be able to take those techniques and apply them to your own images.